Okay, let's try this again. Welcome to Forking Off, the podcast for people who said no to just following orders, where we explore the very personal decisions behind leaving federal service, whether by choice or by force. Every departure has a story, and we're here to share them.
Hi, and welcome to this episode of Forking Off. I'm Jill Fields.
And I'm Philip Fields.
And today we have with us Mike Johnson. Hi, Mike.
Hi, how are you all today?
Doing great. We're so glad to have you. So, Mike, why don't we get started with your bottom line up front, your bluff?
Sure. I'm born and raised in Vermont, spent the 6 years after high school, enlisted in the Navy as an interior communications electrician, deployed twice overseas, got out of the Navy in 2011 and went to college, attended Penn State, where I got my degree in public relations. After that, I have spent the last 9 years working in various roles for the Department of State.
Why don't we go to the happy part of what you were doing at State Department and the great work you were doing there?
Sure. So in my 9 years with the department, I held various roles. I started with the department on Halloween of 2016 as a staff assistant in the Assistant Secretary of State for Administration's front office, mostly kind of just doing admin work. And then when the transition to the first Trump presidency happened, we kind of got downsized. I also took on some OMS office manager kind of stuff and was doing that for a few years. I was there for 4 years and then transitioned from that to the public affairs office in our East Asian and Pacific Island Bureau and did public affairs work for about 2 years. It was kind of getting back to my public relations roots and doing work there. It was nonstop, as you can probably imagine, with everything from COVID going on to the semi-frequent missile launches from North Korea. There was the military coup in Burma at the time, plus earthquakes and volcanoes and just
everything, natural disasters and man-made as well.
Yes, and throw on top of that the fact that that region is 12 to 13 hours ahead of us. Most of the time when we were getting ready to end our day and go to sleep, they were spinning up their day and things were happening. So it was very fast-paced, very interesting work. I loved it, loved the people I worked with. Then I was actually offered a very unique position still with the department to work in presidential appointments where,
very cool.
Yeah, I loved it. Again, working with amazing people, doing some really amazing work. We worked exclusively with people who went through Senate confirmation for the department. This includes ambassadors, assistant secretaries of state, undersecretaries of state, and all the way up to the deputy secretary of state. The secretary of state goes through his own process that we were not involved in, but I was there for another, 2.5 years and got to do some really amazing work. We did everything from starting their background checks to writing their letters of credence and recall that they would take with them and present to the heads of state when they would arrive at post. Got to meet a lot of really interesting ambassadors, ambassadorial nominees, got to go to the White House multiple times for swearing in ceremonies for ambassadors, which was a place that a kid from Vermont doesn't think they're going to end up. But I was standing feet from the last vice president, and that was just a very shocking moment for me. I had to kind of remember to close my mouth and not
gape at her.
Not gape too much as she started speaking, and I had a moment, moments in the beginning where I was like, I've seen you on TV. And it's like, well, yeah, it's like a real person, but you don't expect to be in the same room as the vice president. And so really, really amazing opportunity there. Then I moved in January over to the Bureau of Overseas Buildings Operations, still with the State Department, working in the Office of Policy and Program Analysis as a management and program analyst. I ended up there starting on January 20th, and then I left there in July. So I was only there for a short amount of time. Again, really interesting people, really interesting work. OBO, Overseas Buildings Operations, is all about building and maintaining embassies and consulates. So
Oh.
it was interesting for me to get back into writing a little bit. This was going to be a writing position and working with kind of technical experts because I have a bit of a background in electricity from my time in the Navy. And so it kind of fused two of my interests. And I also thought it would be a really good place to kind of work where it's buildings. Like, I didn't think that would be a place I would have to kind of worry about my future, but not to spoil anything upcoming, but that's not how it turned out.
Yeah. Speaking of that, I mean, you would think buildings, safe bet. We need to make sure that our buildings are safe, our embassies are safe. Yeah. So you left in July. What happened?
Well, if I can rephrase that slightly, I was asked to leave in July. I was part of the reduction in force that happened at the department in July. So I was put on administrative leave and was on administrative leave until September. Then September was my final official day with the department.
So I'm curious. You mentioned that you had moved into that role on January 20th. Like, was this something that you had already you were trying to move towards?
I had been looking at other positions since November of the previous year. A coworker had kind of just randomly spoken to me about OBO and how she thought I would be a really good fit for that bureau. And so it kind of was just like good luck that I was like, oh yeah, I remembered seeing there's a position that I could laterally transfer into in OBO. And so it kind of started, I interviewed in November, and then the slow process of kind of getting my clearances checked and all of those things didn't happen until right after Christmas. I think I interviewed right before Thanksgiving. I found out I was accepted for the position right after Christmas. I let my office know, and that's when they sort of set up the time frame for me leaving that was done at levels above my head. But I do know there was consideration taken into moving me simply because there was the expectation of a potential hiring freeze.
That's just like really fateful timing. Like, this was a role that you had sought out and then had the rug pulled out from you afterwards.
Unfortunately.
So, Mike, we had talked before about like how you found out and when you found out and how much time you had to get out of there. So why don't you share with everyone else what that time frame and how everything worked out? Because I mean, that's the middle of summer. Everybody's on vacation.
Yeah, it was a bit weird in that I came into the position in January and everybody was kind of sort of waiting on the reorganization to come out. There was a lot of rumors flying, which I never put a whole lot of value into. We all felt very safe. Leadership in the bureau thought we would all be very safe. And so we kind of kept chugging along, doing our work like we're supposed to. And then in April, I finally got to attend a mandatory leadership course that I was overdue for by a few years because of COVID and then prioritization of foreign service officers and then a busy schedule for me. I was a little overdue for it. So I was over at the Foreign Service Institute, FSI, spent the week over there doing this wonderful leadership course that they do and was feeling incredibly kind of reinvigorated and excited and thinking about the fact that not only do I want to lead people again, but I think I'd be good at it. Like, I'm excited about this and I need to start taking the next steps to kind of position myself for more formal leadership positions within the department. I think it was maybe Tuesday of that week, the reorganization came out. It was just kind of an organizational chart. OBO was still on there. Everything looked normal. I had classmates whose offices were totally removed. So like that was a very weird day in class, very emotional day for a lot of people finding out that they were not going to have a job anymore. And I sort of was there and trying to support them and continued to not think much about it, and then left and went home. And again, nothing really going on. And I come back for the third day of the class, I think on Wednesday. And again, we're moving through the day and I go for a break. And my supervisor had a very wonderful rule where like, I'm only going to kind of call you if the building's on fire. And so I take my phone out and look and I'm like, oh, I got a missed call from my supervisor. Like I better better call her back. This is pretty serious. And that's when I found out that my office was being dissolved and we would no longer be part of the department. So it was a rough way to find out, because I was going from like feeling really, really good about what I wanted to be doing within the organization to finding out that I would no longer be a part of the organization.
That is wild. That is so wild, for especially saying like the day before an email sent out with people finding out along with everyone else. My job, my department, my office is no longer going to be there. Like I can't imagine the emotions, and then to think you're safe that day. And then the next day to get the phone call, like, I'm sorry. I'm so
Thank you.
sorry.
I'm sorry for everybody else as well. And it's tough on all of us, I think. And I was particularly shocked because I knew that they had been telling us they would be taking into account tenure status, which I had, and military veteran status, which I have, and your ratings, which have been nothing but the highest ratings for me since my time in the military. So I personally, beyond anything else, felt very safe given my history and given the kind of checks I had that I felt would keep me from being removed from the organization.
So they just did away with the whole department, though?
No, OBO still exists. So the bureau within the department still exists. Honestly, at this point, I'm not sure if the office still exists or if it's been renamed, if it's been removed. I know there are still, we were a team of I think about 12 people. There are 2 contractors who, last I knew, were doing the work of everybody who was there. And I think they might be trying to bring on other contractors, but I, again, can't really speak with any real authority on that anymore.
Yeah, no, that's a tough spot to be in, too. If you're one of those 2 contractors, you're now responsible for the work of 10 other people and making sure that your company doesn't lose its contract.
I have a lot of sympathy for them. Knowing one of them rather well, I feel for them. And it's a very impossible situation for the people who have to remain to be put in as well.
Yeah. I'm always so amazed by the different stories, just because you start realizing it's almost a thoughtlessness of what happens when you get rid of everyone that's been doing the work, and you place all of that burden on someone who is a contractor. They're on a contract. They're not necessarily going to be there in 6 months because contracts do expire at some point. And then to possibly have to bring in new contractors to manage, who, like, you've lost your organizational knowledge. You've lost that. That's my tangent. I'm just, so you thought you had a future with State Department.
Okay, good. I was gonna say I still have a future.
No, you definitely have a future. Sorry, that's my poor pausing and timing. No, Mike, you definitely have a future. But the future that you saw is just, it disappeared. How are you managing that? How are you handling that?
I think as well as I can. I would start by saying I'm incredibly fortunate to have an incredibly supportive girlfriend, incredibly supportive parents and sister, great friends, both locally and out of the area, who have just been really supportive. People from my past who have reached out to me to help. I mean, one of your previous guests, Captain Cordell, I served under him on the San Jacinto when I went on my second deployment. He continues to just be one of the most amazing people I know, and constantly willing to help.
He thinks so highly of you.
I do my best to live up to those expectations, because he truly is an amazing person. And I probably fall short most days, but I hope to someday be the person he thinks I am. But I do think the world of him. He's been amazing. A lot, and I've been trying to take advantage of a lot of the good resources that are out there. I mean, fortunately, as a veteran, there are things out there that I can kind of tap into, whether it be Wounded Warrior Project does a lot of employment stuff. The state of Virginia has a veterans office that does work with that. I've been talking to people from my university who still remember me and want to help me, and it's made it better. Like, it's a tough time, I think, for all of us. The best thing I've found is just like tapping into my network, reconnecting with people, and trying to trying to help people where I can. One of the things that I got to do at the department that I really loved doing was I was part of the veterans mentorship program, and I was able to mentor two kind of junior veterans coming into the department on life at the State Department, and started making connections for them. It's a little bit odd because we were having conversations at the time where they thought they were going to lose their jobs. And the irony of it all is I have been asked to no longer participate in the government, and they still have their jobs. So they did something right. Hopefully I gave them some sort of tip that kept them around. I'm trying to get re-involved in things. I'm volunteering to work with veterans at my alma mater. So that's going to be really great. I'm excited to kind of get that kicked off. And I just started working with Team Rubicon and doing some volunteer work with them. Just did work at a food shelter locally last week. So while I am job hunting and trying to find my next position, I'm trying to kind of build out the rest of my life and keep that moving in the right direction as well. And I found that to be very, very helpful. Plus it gets me out of the apartment, because there are those days where I stay home and I look for jobs and I network and I apply to jobs, and then my girlfriend gets home at the end of the night and I have all this pent up energy because I haven't talked to another human all day. And I think she appreciates it when I get like my time with people in, because I'm a social person and I need those interactions.
I love it. Yeah. There are days that it feels that way here too, of just being inside all day long and you're like, I have to go somewhere.
Yeah,
Please.
I know far too many people in my apartment building now, because I see them in the elevator after I go to get them out. I'm like, just start a conversation about the most random thing. And yeah, my girlfriend, she tolerates me when she comes home, and I'm like, I think I made a new best friend. And then I tell her about the random person I met in the elevator. So she's wonderful for humoring me with my over exuberance of need for social interaction.
That is fantastic. Look, you're making friends, you're networking, you're building a community.
I'm trying. And on top of all of that, on Saturday nights, I go and play hockey, and I have an amazing bunch of people that I play with. I picked it up later in life, so I'm terrible, but it's great to go.
That's okay.
Yeah, it's okay. I can stop, which is like very important. So I'm pretty proud of that fact. I can't say that for everybody out there. We do all right. And a lot of the people that I play with also are affiliated with the government in different ways. So like they've been really supportive and really amazing. So I have this amazing kind of support cast that I've built around me. And so life is really good, other than the fact that I don't have a job. I can't complain that much, luckily.
I'm glad to hear you have such a good support network. Not everyone is as fortunate to have that network. And I love that you're actually leaning on your network and trying to move forward and not letting everything get to you. And you've stayed positive. Every time we've talked to you, you've been very positive.
I like to think I am generally a positive person. I know when I got my very first job rejection, my girlfriend came home and I was a little bit down, but I told her like, well, at least the first one's out of the way. So like now the next one isn't my first rejection. Like this one hurt a little bit, but like we can move on and it'll be better going forward. And
you got experience. You got experience. So it's all good.
I don't love the 3 a.m. rejection email where I'm like, oh, this just came from a computer and nobody ever looked at it. But those still sting a little bit. But overall, I'm adjusting to the reality of what job seeking is these days. And I can't say enough for the people I've been kind of in contact with and working with to try to make this happen. And it's a trying time, but I think we kind of all do better when we're working together. And I think that's just the reality of looking for a job these days, unfortunately.
Yeah. And there are a lot of us out there looking for jobs. What type of role are you looking at now? You said like you really enjoyed like mentoring the veterans and working with these different veterans groups. Is that going to play into what you're looking into, or are you going to just try something brand new?
I think that will always be a part of what I do, whether that is a formal part of the roles that I pursue, or it is something informal like through Penn State, or it's something local. I always want to try to help, and that's an area that I feel like I can really help in. As far as positions I'm looking at a broad range of things. I think probably a lot of us are trying to figure out like, what do all these skills that I accumulated in the military and in the government, what do they mean in the real world, and where do I go from here, and how do I leverage those skills? I've looked at government affairs positions for bigger companies. I'm also looking at some project management roles, and a great resource for veterans is Syracuse's Onward to Opportunity program. I am going to take advantage of that next month and get my PMP certification to have that for project management roles.
That's awesome.
Yeah, so if you are a veteran and you're looking to kind of get a certification, I would recommend them. There is no cost to it, so that's been wonderful. Excited to get that going. Also looking at some more educational opportunities. I still have a little bit of my GI Bill remaining. Potentially looking at doing a master's program through Georgetown, kind of in artificial intelligence management. So I'm excited about that. The applications are due pretty soon, so that's another thing I've been kind of working on to take up some of my time. And again, can't speak highly enough of the people who support me in that. I asked Captain Cordell for a letter of recommendation, and he happily did. I reached out to one of my favorite professors from Penn State who still remembers me, still thinks highly of me. We still stay in contact, and she's going to write me one. So
Awesome.
I'm excited about that, really, because I think we all probably would agree that artificial intelligence is not only the future, but is a lot of the present. And I'd love to be involved in that some way.
I love that. I think that is great. Before we get to our last question, I want to ask you, is there anything else you want to add? Anything part of your story that we've missed or that you'd like to share?
I'm trying to think. I feel like we've covered quite a bit in this little bit of time.
We have. Well, I was going to say something that I know that you mentioned us, and I just want to highlight it because I think this really shows some dedication. You are learning a foreign language now.
I am learning Ukrainian. My girlfriend is Ukrainian. Her parents speak Ukrainian. They do not speak English. They still live in Western Ukraine, but they travel to visit us a few times a year. And the first time I met them, my girlfriend had to do all of the translation, and I wanted to do something to kind of help with that. So I thought I would learn Ukrainian. It started by using Duolingo, and then it's moved on to kind of an online tutor. So I meet once a week with her. It is so hard.
I bet.
It gives me a lot of pleasure having something in my life to learn. I mean, I think I am a lifelong learner, and whether it be learning to skate again at 37 or picking up hockey the next year at 38, learning that was fun. But now it's like I'm trying to learn something different, stretch kind of different muscles. And I will say languages are not easy for me. It's been very difficult. The Cyrillic alphabet is very different from ours. There's a lot of what I like to call like trick letters where I think it looks like something like what looks like an H to me actually makes like an N sound.
Oh.
And so like, I see it, or like what looks like a B, an uppercase B to me is actually a V sound. And so your brain kind of takes a while to start piecing those things together. But it's very enjoyable. And her parents just visited us a few months ago. I was able to say a few things. They laughed most of the time, which I
that's okay.
At least they see I'm trying. And we got to a point where I could say, good morning, how are you? I could tell them I was going to the gym. So like small things here or there makes it fun. And then every now and then I get to like come out of my lesson and talk through something with my girlfriend. She's very patient with me and helps me and corrects me. I was able to use a little bit of it at the farmers market this last weekend because there was a Ukrainian artist there. I quickly realized I was in like way over my head after I said, good morning, how are you out? And then I finally had to be like, I don't speak that much, but I have a Ukrainian girlfriend. And then they corrected me on how I had not properly conjugated Ukrainian in that. But it was good. They enjoyed it. I enjoy it. And so yeah, learning Ukrainian has been a challenge, but it's another kind of fun part of my life I have going on right now. And I'm looking forward to kind of continuing to do that into the future.
So I wanted to ask, you've talked a lot about like mentoring veterans. I was also in the Marine Corps before my government service. I was wondering if you have like any advice. The Syracuse thing was great. Those types of resources are excellent for people. If you have any other advice that you would share with veterans or just with anybody who's sort of in this same situation right now?
Yeah, for veterans, I would definitely say take advantage of all the resources that are out there beyond Syracuse. I mean, Wounded Warrior Project works with veterans. What is it? DAV has a bunch of different people that will work with veterans. And there are a lot of programs, hiring our heroes. There are a lot of resources, and they're all free to take advantage of and to get help. I know I have a meeting with Wounded Warrior Project to talk to kind of a career coach. I think there are a lot of resources out there, and there's probably far more than I'm aware of. If you are a veteran, I think there are some things you can be looking at to use. Beyond that, I really do think tapping into the people you know and just getting it out there. They're like, hey, I need help. Asking for help is never a bad thing.
Yeah, absolutely. I think one of the best pieces of advice that I got was try and find people locally who you can just go and meet up for coffee sometime. Like just to have some outlet for physical interaction, like go meet up with somebody you haven't seen in years or something. Another good one, I think, was, and I did this a couple years back, but for people who do have GI Bill benefits left under the post 9/11 GI Bill, the sort of housing stipend that you get during that time, if you're having trouble with work, that's actually really helpful. That's how we paid for our apartment between the Marine Corps and going to work at the Bureau, was living off of the housing stipend that we got while I went to school. I used the rest of my benefits more recently for a graduate certificate from the SANS Technology Institute. Got some certifications and things that way, and got the online version of the housing stipend, which was also nice. So I think there are a ton of resources out there for people. And yeah, like places like Wounded Warrior Project would be great for directing people to how to tap into those if they're having a hard time figuring it out.
Completely agree. I would also say that if you have used all of your post 9/11 GI Bill, you could also go to the VA and apply for VR&E benefits. I believe it's vocational rehabilitation and education benefits. They will also pay a housing allowance, and you can use it for education, job training, and placement. So it's, I believe, limited to 12 years after you get your rating, but you can appeal that. I'm actually in the process of potentially having to do that myself. But yeah, there's a lot of really, really good resources. And I just would say in any facet of life, but especially in this time, like don't suffer in silence, don't suffer alone. Like reach out to the people you know. And I mean, honestly, reach out to me. I'm happy to help anybody I can in any way I can. I think it's all we can do is kind of help each other at this point and try to lift each other up.
Yeah, absolutely. Same. There's plenty of us out there. We can all do it together.
Yeah, this out of all of this sorrow from all of these jobs being lost, that is one thing that we have seen, is that there's been a great community come together to support all of the former feds. It's been very inspiring that people, like, it shows that public servants really do want to help other people. They want to serve the public and give back.
Yeah, I would agree. And I have personally felt, at least, that like very few to almost, I would say nobody for me has said no when I've reached out randomly on LinkedIn or something, just asking for, hey, here's my situation. Can I have a little bit of your time to talk about the industry you're in, to talk about your transition from the military to the private sector, or really anything. So the worst anybody can ever say is no. So
exactly.
I'm trying to push that as far as I can at this point.
We all are. So Mike, I have one last question for you. If given the option, would you go back?
Maybe. Right now, today, I would not. I'm looking at other opportunities. If down the line there is an opportunity that I feel I could do some good in the world, maybe. But right now, that's not my focus. My focus is moving forward and finding my next thing, my next place. I hope someday maybe I can, but right now it's a maybe.
Solid maybe there.
Solid maybe. Yes, a stuttering maybe. So less than solid, but it's a maybe.
It's a maybe. It's a maybe. Well,
so you're saying there's a chance.
That's, you know what, those are about the odds. You never want to say no though, because there's always the opportunity. And Hey, I've always said that my dream job is to be the first base coach of the Boston Red Sox. So if that doesn't work out, I could maybe see myself back in the government someday. So if somebody from the Red Sox is listening,
I mean,
I'm
hey,
available. And like I have some experience. I did it in Fairfax Little League, so I can put that on the resume.
you have so much experience there. That would be
I certainly
fantastic.
do.
I mean, if you can be first base coach for Little League,
I feel like it's not the hardest job in the world, though I'm probably not taking into account many aspects of it.
I feel like coaching the little leaguers where to go is probably way more complex. They need you.
Yeah, I'm assuming there's a lot less worry about like people hitting each other with bats at the major league level. Not usually.
I would hope. Gosh. Well, okay. So Red Sox, if you're listening, Mike's available. He's just a phone call away or a LinkedIn message.
You know, one can hope. Dreams can come true sometimes, I think.
They can. Well, Mike, I know you are going to do great things, and I'm so glad that Philip and I have gotten to meet you. So thank you so much for joining us today.
Thank you both. And yeah, thank you for kind of giving all of us a platform to tell our stories. It's certainly helpful and cathartic.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Well, we're happy to do so. So, all right. Well, thanks for forking off with us.
Have a good day.
You too.
Thank you. Thanks for tuning in to this episode of Forking Off. To our listeners still in government, remember, your integrity is worth more than your TSP. Leaving doesn't mean giving up on public service. It just means finding new ways to serve.
Until next time,
Keep your ethics,
keep your dignity.
and we'll keep telling these stories.
If you're a former Fed with a story to tell, or you're wrestling with your own ethical crossroads, reach out to us at info@forkingoff.com.
Today's episode was created, produced, and edited by Jill and Philip Fields. Special thanks to our guest, Mike Johnson. You can find more information about this episode at forkingoff.com. Follow us on Instagram, TikTok, Blue Sky, Mastodon, LinkedIn, or wherever you get your podcasts.
Join us Monday, November 17th.
As we talk with Dr. Sarah Degue, former senior scientist at CDC's Division of Violence Prevention.
So what I wanted to do with my business was try to rebuild and reinvent what we are doing in violence prevention so that it doesn't rely completely on the government. Because violence does not end when the government ignores it. In fact, it is currently getting worse. For the people that we tried to protect, that we worked for, like it's on us now to take that and to try to do something else with it, because that was a gift while it lasted and they're counting on us, whether they know it or not. That's the best we can do in 2025.